This time on Travelers. Doug and I hop on a plane business class to Weifang, China, where we get an unprecedented look at how Dynaudio is manufacturing drivers for cars. Then, we head to Beijing to explore vinyl culture in one of China's most modern cities. Strap in, this is one you don't want to miss.
I have to fix the shower. The shower, I have to fix the
So what do you guys think about your dad leaving you all the time?
I hate him for it.
He taxed him. I never got to spend any father-son bonding. That was bullshit.
So we're off to China for the first time for us. Now, many audio people have been to China, obviously, with all the manufacturing that goes on, but for us as journalists, it's the first time, and rarely do people go, and what we're going for is Goertek, the parent company behind Dynaudio. We're at Dynaudio in Denmark in the spring, and they want us to see the China aspect of the operation, and honestly, we don't know what we're gonna see.
So we screwed up big time when we booked this trip. I'll just say that as a preface here.
Okay, so I don't know if this is gonna make it in the video, but we fucked up.
We were told that traveling from Canada to China can be done without a business visa, and that we should just go there on a 240-hour visa-free visit. The Chinese embassy told us this, as well as an engineer from China who Doug spoke with, so we didn't do much further digging. We booked our tickets, Montreal, Vancouver, Beijing, and then Beijing, Vancouver, Montreal. Should be easy. In Vancouver, because we were flying business class, we were greeted by AC staff and escorted to the premium lounge. We spent an hour or so there, enjoying a few drinks and a delicious steak. We only left like 20 minutes to board because we figured, why rush? When we get to the gate, the Air Canada staff, they tell us we couldn't fly to China with our current ticket. The 240-hour visa stipulated that you needed to also visit some other country, any country. You can't just go Canada, China, and back to Canada. The logic of it all makes no sense. But as the Chinese border guard told us, those are the rules. Doug looked absolutely panicked, and it all seemed hopeless until one of the stewardesses came over and told us in a whisper that if we booked burner tickets to South Korea on Air China, she could let us on the plane, and that would give us time to contact Air Canada and sort out our return tickets. So we did just that. We booked our tickets as quickly as we could and got on the plane. Nothing like a stressful start to an 18-hour flight.
So Chris, what's your secret to 30-hour travel days? I think you slept like 90% of the way.
It was good. It was like teleporting. We just ended up here.
When we landed, we spent a few hours on the phone with Air Canada working out solutions. Both of us were plenty ready to get to our hotel and get some sleep. But before we could, we needed to get a ride. And look, years of TV and movies had prepared me to expect terrible air quality in China. And when we stepped into the parking garage where it was swelteringly hot and people were still smoking inside, it made it suffocatingly uncomfortable. I thought, oh boy, this is going to be quite the week.
Check and see if this car has Dynaudio speakers.
It's a BYD. It has Dynaudio speakers. Check that out.
Woo! But then, as soon as we got out into the open city air, it cleared right out. It was still 40 degrees Celsius, but in terms of air quality, I was surprised. It felt much like any big Canadian or American city. Of course, as tired as we were also itching to get some food. And one of the staples of any good SoundStage trip is a visit to a noodle house. We love our Asian cuisine. We met up with Otto from Dynaudio and dove right into the local dishes. Afterwards, we walked around a bit and got the lay of the land, but after a long travel day, it was time to call it.
My first impression of China is really positive, and not just because how modern and how nice it is here. Beijing, it's a big city, but because of how helpful the people are. Help at the airport, help getting into the DD taxi, help at the breakfast buffet, help everywhere. People are super friendly.
Our first challenge in China was to find our way from Beijing to the small town where Dynaudio's Goertek facility is located, Weifang. Luckily, the company had sent us a liaison named Wuyi to help us navigate things.
So why does Dynaudio want us here in China?
Because the concept of made in China is like a black box. What does it mean? Because not that many years ago, Chinese stuff was crap. Okay, and this was like the Japanese stuff of the 60s and 70s. But Chinese stuff today was not. They make great cars, they have great hotels, They have great train stations. So it's what is made in China, how it's made in China, and what kind of quality comes out of China.
So there's that Kentucky Fried Chicken right there. Of course, why wouldn't you? And then when you just turn around, and then there's like another Kentucky Fried Chicken, because why wouldn't you?
Walking into our hotel in Weifang, we were taken aback by how nice it was. Although this hotel, much like our last one, was struggling to keep the temperatures cool, because outside it was still hovering around 40 degrees even at night.
So of course, here we are in China, and Doug's looking for a Lebanese food spot.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they serve shawarma around here. Probably good garlic.
We decided to explore a local shopping mall to try and get a feel of the local pulse of culture. It was interesting because malls here have car dealerships in them, something we'd never seen back in Canada.
So it's day 3 in China, but day 1 shooting at Dynaudio's headquarters at Goertek. Let's see what's going on.
Is it like you thought, Chris?
Well, I feel like I'm in the opening scene of Westworld when they introduce you to all the technology.
From a North American perspective, it's hard to comprehend Goertek. It's enormous. And while they're obviously manufacturing Dynaudio automotive products, they're also manufacturing much, much more. Lots of which we can't even talk about or show, but they're tooled up to manufacture lots of mass market stuff like video game systems, mobile phones, and consumer drones. Of course, our visit centered on the car audio stuff, and they were eager to show us all the cool things that Dynaudio has been making. After a quick introduction, we were taken to Lab 2, which is their dedicated space for the car audio engineering team.
This is really cool. It's like going into a different world, a world a lot of us don't know exists, but this is some real tech.
After a few interviews in Lab 2, we went for lunch and moved over to the second location where the actual drivers were being manufactured.
Ass-kicking chamber.
It's a big one.
First, we checked out their anechoic facilities, and then took a peek at their home theater room, then off to the assembly line. This was a fully robotic factory, including rolling drone-style robots to move things around the factory. And they all played music so you could hear them coming. That tune was stuck in our heads the rest of the week. The assembly line was world-class. They claimed to have a zero-defect record with their drivers using AI systems to detect any issues. At the end of the day, because of the strict NDA we had to sign, the team had to go through my camera and make sure I hadn't captured any images in the factory that could be sensitive. It was a bit weird, but at the end of the day, we got more than enough footage.
Much more, not than I thought, but the scale of it is much larger than I thought it would be. So wrap up of day 1 shooting at, well, Goerdyna, headquarters for Dynaudio in China. We shot the production, heavily automated, state-of-the-art, tons of drivers for automotive coming out of there. Quite amazing. I didn't think I would see this level of sophistication. I thought I would see some, but right now I got to get off the street because I could get hit by a van.
Then afterward, we went out for dinner with the Dynaudio team. The only thing we had left to do on the second day of shooting was pick up some interviews in Lab 2.
So here's a key thing about doing these interviews. Sometimes the terminology is important, and they're having a meeting right now on the terminology. So day 4 in China, day 2 at Dynaudio, or really Goerdyna, and I'm at Lab 2. Now it's called Lab 2 because Lab 1 is in Denmark, and this is Lab 2 where they do the automotive stuff. And what's cool about Lab 2 is it's this modern Danish-looking building, but it's made out of shipping containers, groups of them all bolted together for a really modern, funky look. And it's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit right now and about 90% humidity. So we're gonna go inside and film.
Afterward, we went and explored the rest of Goer Town, a very unique place.
Goer Town. Looks like City Hall, but really it's a sports facility, swimming pool, gym, all that stuff, shops, flowers, everything. It's for the workers of Goertek.
Serious about their ping pong.
It's massive, and they got a whole model in there of what G-Town is and what it will be. It's like being in a movie.
Our last night in Weifang, we went and had a hot pot with Mugi. Surprisingly, he told us the best hot pot would be in the mall. Another big difference from back home.
So what's going on today? Day 5 in China, a day after day 2 at Dynaudio. we're getting on a high-speed train, not that one over there. Another one that's gonna come here, but check those trains out. They move up to 300 kilometers per hour. So we're going back to Beijing. Take us about 3.5 hours. We're gonna hang out for the day in Beijing at the hotel, and then tomorrow, 2 record stores at least to shoot an episode of Why Vinyl.
Hi, it's Doug Schneider from SoundStage. Today I'm in Beijing at Fruity Shock Records.
Filming Why Vinyl had us running all around Beijing, so we got to see a lot of the cityscape. We visited several vinyl shops in Beijing. Check out the entire video on that in our Why Vinyl series. It's super interesting because at vinyl's heights in the 60s and 70s, the government didn't allow it. So vinyl is truly being experienced by new generations here for the first time right now.
This is a highly polished record store.
So almost 1 week in China, Beijing, Weifang, amazing, completely eye-opening and much different than we thought. First of all, the hospitality of everyone. And I'm not talking just at Goertek, the company we visited, but everywhere. People were super nice, super accommodating, even the customs people, even when we had a problem. I didn't expect anybody to be rude, but to be this friendly, that was another story, even in a crowded city like Beijing. And we're gonna be coming back to China because the next wave of hi-fi isn't the so-called chi-fi, the rebadged Chinese goods getting sold often by some brand names, but rather Chinese hi-fi companies building their brand names. And we even got a couple invites while we're here to come back another time. And we will, probably Shenzhen. And right now, the next trip overseas will be Italy at the end of September. But just before that, we're gonna be going back to near Montreal, Boucherville, for something at Sim Audio.